Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love watching Rick and Morty, but there were points in my life where I actually wondered why I'm still invested in the show. I started to wonder if it's high time I get a job. I first fell in love with the witty but ridiculous humor of the show, and my expectations for the show were that it would eventually just end up like Family Guy, where you really don't take what happens in the show too seriously, and continuity and lore really doesn't matter. I mean, in the first episode, Rick literally tells Morty to stick two giant seeds up his butt. Tell me that's not funny. But it really impressed me when they introduced villains into the show like Evil Morty and showed us some development towards the backstory of Rick as a character. And for that reason, I was hooked. I wanted to see more. I started asking questions like, who is Evil Morty? Will he return, and what happened to Rick's wife? And the writers really delivered on this. As the seasons progressed, we kept getting more story related episodes and the show started to feel a bit more solid. It felt like the characters were more real each episode, and the show got so good that it had an insane amount of viewers. But I couldn't help but feel a certain feeling of uneasiness each season. As amazing as the show was, you could see that it was slowly falling off, and it was mainly because of its biggest problem, its inconsistency. On one episode, you'll experience the greatest piece of sci-fi fiction you'll ever see in your entire life, and the next episode is just the most mundane garbage thing you'll ever see. And I'm of course talking about the giant incest baby episode. There is no way I could simply put into words what I was feeling. I seriously need the writers to answer for what they did. But the thing about Rick and Morty is that each season they'll serve you an episode so good and so crazy that you wonder what happens next. I'm very optimistic about the show because I grew up loving it in early high school, but it is incredibly inconsistent, and the fact that the main voice actor of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland, got fired for some allegations made the fans a bit uneasy. Not only did they have to get a new voice actor for his second show, Solar Opposites,
I told you not to throw metal around here.
but they got two new voice actors to voice both Rick and Morty. But say what you want about them, they did a good job. But is the show worth continuing at this point? Well, they did announce that season 8 will be out in 2025 and not 2024, which is a bit strange because we get a new season of Rick and Morty on a yearly basis. But I seriously don't know where this show is going. I wish I had confidence in it, but it is really hard to say. In the latest season, we get two banger episodes. In episode 5, we got to see the return of Evil Morty and see what he's been up to since he left the Central Finite Curve. And in that same episode, we got to see the final showdown between Rick and Rick Prime, and it was perfectly done. I absolutely loved it.
It was perfect. Perfect.
And what the writers did for the rest of the season was serve us more goofy episodes and pretended like we didn't see what we just saw. But the show kind of redeemed itself in episode 8 with the whole episode, which had a lot going on. I actually believed at some point that Diana returned. That entire episode was just absolutely crazy. And after seeing that season, I actually started to believe that this show has some insane potential, and at this point, it's just the writers messing the whole thing up. I just don't want to end up giving up on this show, but if the next season is trash, I actually might.